This is it. The end of everything I thought was real. My name is Clara Mitchell. I grew up in Denver, Colorado. I thought I had found safety and love in marriage, but what I faced instead was betrayal at its cruelest, by the man I trusted and the daughter I helped raise. I sat at our dining table, the heavy oak piece we had picked out together on our second anniversary. The late afternoon sun streamed through the window, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the air. A silent, peaceful scene that was about to be shattered. Across from me sat Emily, my stepdaughter. Her face, which I had once seen as a beautiful blend of her father and her late mother, was now a mask of cold accusation. Her eyes were hard, devoid of the warmth I had worked so hard to nurture over the years. "It was in the emergency fund envelope in Dad's desk," she said, her voice steady and practiced. $5,000. It's gone. And you were the only one who knew where the key was. I felt a cold dread spread through my chest, a physical sensation like ice water seeping into my veins. "Emily, what are you talking about?" I asked. My voice was calm, a stark contrast to the sudden, frantic pounding of my heart. "I would never do that." "You know I wouldn't." Daniel was standing next to her, his hand resting on her shoulder in a gesture of protection. My husband, the man who had promised to love and protect me. He didn't look at me for an explanation. He didn't ask for the truth. He didn't even seem to consider that there might be another side to the story. His face was flushed with a deep, unsettling red. He slammed his hand on the table. "The glasses we used for dinner every night jumped. Get out of my house," he said. His voice was a low growl, an animalistic sound I had never heard from him before. It was filled with such raw anger, such absolute conviction. It was as if a judge had slammed down a gavel. The verdict was in. There was no room for discussion. No room for my side of the story. My world stopped. Just like that. In one sentence, the foundation of my life crumbled into dust. "Daniel, please," I tried to say, my voice cracking under the weight of my shock. "You have to believe me. This is a mistake. I didn't do anything." He just stared at me. His eyes, the ones that used to look at me with such love and adoration, were now cold, hard stones. No warmth, no love. Just pure, unadulterated anger. I said, "Get out, Clara, now." I stood up slowly, my legs feeling weak and disconnected from my body. I looked at Emily. A small, satisfied smirk played on her lips for just a second before she replaced it with a look of feigned hurt. She had won. Whatever cruel game this was, she had won. I walked to our bedroom, the sanctuary we had created together. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely turn the doorknob. I pulled a suitcase from the top of the closet. "What do you pack when your life is over?" I started grabbing things at random. A few sweaters, a pair of jeans, a toothbrush. My heart was breaking. I could feel it physically shattering into a million tiny pieces inside my chest. I left with nothing but that one suitcase. Tears were streaming down my face, hot and silent. I didn't even say goodbye. There was no one to say goodbye to. Just the man who had been my husband and the girl I had tried to be a mother to. They stood there in the living room, a united front, watching me go. I drove away, leaving behind the home I had built, the life I had so carefully created. It was all gone. Just like that, Emily's lies spread like wildfire through our community. She was meticulous, spinning stories to anyone who would listen. They were clever, designed to sound believable. To our neighbor, Mrs. Gable, she cried about how I had a secret credit card and was drowning them in debt. To Daniel's sister, she whispered that I was selling off family heirlooms online, things that had belonged to her mother. False claims. She said I manipulated Daniel, that I was greedy, that I tried to control everything. She painted me as a monster, and people I had shared coffee with and invited to barbecues believed her. Family, friends, people I had known for years turned cold. Their smiles vanished when they saw me in the grocery store aisle. Their eyes would shift away, suddenly fascinated by a can of beans. I tried calling my friend Lisa, someone I'd known since college. The phone rang and rang before going to voicemail. She never called back. I was erased overnight. Like I had never existed. Like the Clara they knew was a lie, a character I had played. But the deepest cut, the wound that would never fully heal, was Daniel. He believed every single word without question, without a moment of doubt. He never called. He never texted. He just accepted Emily's version of events as gospel. It felt like a knife twisting in my gut. How could he? after everything we had been through. After all these years, did he know me at all? I spent my nights in a small motel room on the outskirts of town. The walls were thin. The bed was lumpy and uncomfortable. The smell of stale smoke clung to the curtains. But it was all I had now. I would lie awake for hours, replaying everything in my head. Years of loyalty, years of devotion, all of it, meaningless now. I remembered when I first met Emily. She was just 8 years old. A scared, quiet little girl who had lost her mother far too young. I stepped into that impossible role. I made sacrifices. I learned how to braid her hair, my clumsy fingers slowly becoming more adept. I sat in the front row at her school plays, cheering the loudest. I helped her with her homework, relearning algebra at the kitchen table. I stayed up late when she was sick with the flu, wiping her forehead with a cool cloth. I raised her as my own daughter. I loved her. I truly, deeply loved her. I stood by Daniel through everything. I remembered the year his business almost failed. He would come home late, his face etched with worry. I took a second job, working weekends just to help make ends meet. I encouraged him, told him not to give up, that we would get through it together. I gave up my career as a graphic designer, a job I loved, because Daniel needed more help with the business and Emily needed me home more. I wanted to build our home, a stable, loving place for all of us. I thought it was worth it. I thought we were a team, and now one lie had destroyed it all. One single malicious lie had wiped away every good memory, every sacrifice, every moment of love. It was all erased. One morning, the motel room felt particularly small and stifling. I looked at my reflection in the cheap mirror above the dresser. I looked tired, broken. I knew I couldn't stay there forever. I couldn't let them win this completely. I needed to do something. I took out my laptop and searched for divorce lawyers. I found a local firm with good reviews and made an appointment. The lawyer, a kind but no-nonsense woman named Sarah, listened patiently. I told her everything. The accusations, Daniel's immediate judgment, Emily's lies, the years I spent building our life, the career I gave up, the sacrifices. She didn't interrupt. She just took notes and nodded. It was the first time I had told the whole story out loud, and I felt a strange sense of release. When I finished, she looked at me, her eyes full of empathy but also a steely resolve. "Clara," she said, her voice gentle but firm, "you've given more than you know. Your contributions to this marriage are significant, both financially and emotionally. Legally, you have power here. You are not without recourse." For the first time in weeks, I felt a glimmer of hope, a tiny spark in the crushing darkness. It wasn't about revenge. It was about justice, about finding my way out of this nightmare. Sarah made me see that I wasn't just a victim. I had rights. I had a path forward. Sarah told me we needed to gather documents, financial records, property deeds, anything related to our marriage and assets. A few days later, I went back to the house to retrieve my personal files. I had arranged a time when I knew Daniel and Emily would be out. It felt strange to be there. The air was thick with memories. It was like I was a ghost haunting my own past. As I sifted through old files in Daniel's office, looking for tax returns and bank statements, I found a hidden folder. It was tucked away at the very back of a filing cabinet drawer I rarely opened. It was dusty. I pulled it out. It was filled with receipts, bank transfers, account summaries, all under Emily's name. My hands trembled as I looked at them. The dates went back months, even a year. Large sums of money, small steady withdrawals, deposits into accounts I didn't recognize. My breath caught in my throat. There were purchases for expensive clothes, a weekend trip to Las Vegas, a down payment on a new car. Emily had been siphoning funds from Daniel's business accounts, from our joint savings, the money I had worked for, the money Daniel had earned. She had been stealing it for a long time. Then the realization hit me like a physical blow. I was framed. Emily had framed me. She had concocted this elaborate lie about the emergency fund to cover her own, much larger theft, to make me the scapegoat, to divert Daniel's attention, to protect herself. The shock turned into a cold, hard anger. Not the burning, destructive anger Daniel had shown me. This was a quiet, steady fire, a resolve. I wasn't just a heartbroken wife anymore. I was a wronged woman. And now, I had the proof. The day of the divorce proceedings arrived. I walked into the courtroom with Sarah by my side. The room was sterile and imposing. My heart was pounding, but I felt a strange sense of calm. I knew what I had. I knew the truth. Daniel was there, sitting with Emily. He smirked at me when I walked in. It was a look of pure confidence. He truly believed I would walk away with nothing, that I was the powerless, discarded wife. Emily leaned over, whispering something to him. She glanced at me, a mocking look on her face. A small, cruel smile. I could almost hear her calling me weak. Sarah began to speak. Her voice was clear and firm, filling the silent courtroom. She presented document after document. Proof of my loyalty. My financial contributions to our marriage. The joint assets we had accumulated. The career I had paused to support our family. The work I had put into our home. Daniel's smirk began to falter. He shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Then Sarah moved on. And now, she said, her voice dropping slightly, we need to address the reason for this separation. She started unveiling the documents I had found. The receipts, the bank transfers, all the evidence of Emily's fraud. Each piece of paper was a nail in their coffin. Gasps echoed through the courtroom. The air grew thick with tension. Emily's theft was laid bare for everyone to see. The judge, a stern-faced woman with sharp eyes, looked over her glasses at Emily. Daniel's face drained of all color. His jaw went slack. The confident smirk was completely gone, replaced by a look of utter disbelief and a dawning horror. Emily panicked. She fumbled for excuses, her voice rising in a desperate, broken stream of words. It's not what it looks like. I was going to pay it back! But it was too late. The evidence was irrefutable. I just sat there, calm. My silence was louder than their chaos. I didn't gloat. I didn't smirk back. I just watched as their tower of lies crumbled around them. The truth was speaking for itself. The judge's voice was clear and decisive. She ruled in my favor. I would retain half of the marital estate, half of everything Daniel and I had built together, the house, the savings, the investments. It was fair. It was just Emily was not so lucky. The judge ordered a formal investigation into her for fraud. She would face the legal consequences of her actions, the ones she had so cruelly tried to pin on me and Daniel. He was ordered to pay alimony, a monthly sum, for his betrayal, for kicking me out based on lies, for choosing his daughter's deceit over his wife's truth. I walked out of that courtroom tall, my head held high. I was no longer the woman who begged to be believed. I was Clara Mitchell, strong, resilient, free. A few months later, I bought my own home, a small house with a little front porch and a big backyard. It was all mine. No one could kick me out. No one could tell me I didn't belong. The first thing I did was plant a garden. Roses, my favorite. I spent hours digging in the dirt, feeling the sun on my back. I watched them grow. Each new bloom was a vibrant, beautiful reminder of my own growth, my own resilience. I rebuilt my life piece by piece, in peace. I found strength not in revenge, but in the quiet satisfaction of knowing that justice was mine. I didn't have to raise my voice. The truth had spoken for me. I learned that my worth wasn't dependent on their approval or their belief. It came from within me, and that's my story. They kicked me out with lies, but I walked back in with truth and left with freedom. If you've ever been silenced by betrayal, like this video, subscribe and share your story below.